So basically, we talked about the very basic fundamental uh, details like what is MDG, what is MDM, why MDG, why MDM, and then followed by what are the basic characteristics, uh, or rather we say the basic uh, the advantages which we have in SAP MDG over SAP MDM or the other modules as far as the master data is concerned. Then we had a discussion about different type of master data, like basically different type of data, including master data, reference data, transactional data, reporting data, and where it has been used, and uh, how in a certain project we use them. Then MDG capabilities, and then we talked about some architectural design, the basic architectural design, where we have the source system, we have MDG system, and we have the target system. Uh, the approval process we will talk about today in a bit detailed manner. So this is the high level architecture. And in the architectural design, we talked about a couple of things. One is uh, the hub-based hub model, and another one is the co-deployment. And then we talked about
Aditya, we can't hear you.
Checking once again.
yes, I think I had some network issue. I think now everyone can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you, Aditya. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I was just, okay, let me walk through again. So last week we talked about the basic details, particularly the first chapter, which is introduction chapter. And in this particular chapter, we talked about the basic details about MDG, why MDG, why MDM, what are the characteristics they have in terms of master data, and then followed by we talked about the advantages of MDG, the disadvantages of MDM, and what are the features MDG provide in order to resolve the master data issues. Then we talked about the different type of data like reference data, master data, transactional data, reporting data, etc. Then we talked about MDG capabilities, and then followed by we talked about the basic architecture where we had a source, target, and the basic MDG structure, uh, how the different master data resides, how the process continue through that, just very top of the things, because anyhow uh, every details we will talk about in a different chapter. So regarding the process flow, we will talk about today in a more detailed manner. Then followed by the high-level architecture. So basically in architecture, we talked about two things. One is the hub-based model. Another one is uh, the the core deployment model. So both of the things having some advantages and some disadvantages. So we also talked about those advantages and disadvantages. And then we talked about the little insight about different master data, like material master data, what kind of different data we have. However, whenever we will have an opportunity in the following chapters to go and create or update the master data, then we will have a more hands-on with them. So customer master, vendor master, finance master, these are all different master data we talked about. So this is the quick flow chart. So today we will continue from here. But before that, let me quickly share my screen and open the uh, the agenda. So it will be easy for us to understand which topic we are uh, discussing. Okay, I just share my screen. So in the last session, we talked about the first two topics in the first chapter, which is purpose of MDG for business management and governance. And the second one was detailed MDG architecture with various deployment options. Now today, I will continue with the third topic, which is define business framework for data governance. So first of all, in MDG, one of the most interesting part is in the framework is the approval process. So what happens that in uh, in a normal case, what happens that if you are trying to create some material master data or some customer master data or some vendor master data, usually we go to the respective transactions, like for an example, MM01 for material create, or XK01 or XD01 for vendor master and customer master respectively. So if I want to create something, I can go to that particular transaction, I can enter the data, I can save it, and my data will be the respective database table. For material, it's a Mara table. For others, like vendor, it's LFA1. For customer, KNA1, etc. But the thing is, when you come to MDG, it's not like that, because we don't deal with directly the transactions when it is material or customer or vendor or finance master data creation or update or do something else like block or mark for deletion, etc. Why? Because when you use the transaction, there is yes, you can do it, but the thing is, if you see the standard process, in the standard process, there is a very minimum validations are available, and you just enter the data and just save it, and the data will go to the respective database table. So no customer specific validations are available. Yes, obviously you can write it down some ABAP code in the backend and you can make it, of course. But the process is more or less, the standard, and it is not so easy to make it according to the business standard, or according to what my business is looking for. So because of that reason, when I come to MDG, in MDG what happens that we deal with the change request. We don't deal with transactions directly. We deal with MDG change request. So change request is like a kind of a form, and in that form we basically fill the data about material or customer or vendor or finance, and we enter some information. Like if I talk about material, then it's a material basic data, then plant details, then sales org details, then inside plant we have MRP details, etc. Different type of information. Similarly for vendor, we have basic information, we have company code, we have purchase org. These are all information. So what happens that we enter the data into the MDG change request and we submit it as a requester. So basically, if I just tell you that how it works, just to give you a kind of an overview. So basically in MDG process, so we have a different type of processes. Like for an example, create, it can be create material master, vendor master, customer master. So this basically it's a create process. Similarly, I can say change or update process. Like it can be similarly material update or vendor update or customer update or finance update. Similarly, we can have some block and block, and then we have mark for deletion. So these are all different processes. Okay, so while doing these processes, so basically we follow the MDG change request, MDG CR. So down the line when we will come to the data model and particularly the process model and UI, you will see we will start creating multiple CRs. Okay, because our process is based on CR. If I want to create something, if I want to change something, if I want to block something, if I want to do some deletion, so everything I need, in fact, for mass processing, for consolidation, everything we will be required some CR. So those CRs, basically what happened that you fill it, and you as a company may have a different processes. Like we have a requester, we have a verifier, we have approver, we have final approver, something like that. We have a different type of custodians. So basically they are the different levels or different group of people who having a good knowledge about the data, and they are basically leading the organization. Okay, so let's say requesters are basically the mill managers, the outlet managers, they are the requester, basically the end users. Similarly, some customer side IT department expert, so they are the requester. They basically request some certain master data, and the moment requesters submit the change request will go to the verifier. So verifier again will approve it or reject it, whatever. If it is reject, then go back to the requester again. But if it is approved, then it will continue with the next step. Approver. Again, approver will approve or reject. Now you can ask me, so if approver will reject, which level it will go? Basically, it all depends on your process, because this is nothing but the workflow, right? So workflow cannot be standard. It will be always unique. Company A and company B cannot have same workflow because their business structures are different. When their business structures are different, obviously their process flow will be different. Okay, So if I say that if approver reject something, reject the CR, then it depends. It all depends on the requirement. If your requirement says that I want to send it to verifier, we can send it to verifier. If your requirement says that we will send it to requester, we can send back to the requester. But if you ask me from the best practice, from the best practice point of view, anyone who is the approval levels, whether it is a verifier or approver or final approver, they are basically the approvers, right? So any levels of approver, whenever they reject, it will the best practice says that it will must go to the requester, but there is no hard rule. Okay, why requester? Why in the ideal situation it should go to the requester? The reason is requester is the owner of the request. So anything, so someone is rejecting your request means there is a problem in the request. You have to understand that there is some issue with the data. So if there is any problem or issue with the data, requester should know that what is the problem I have, right? So that's what the ideal situation says, that it should go to the requester. But again, there is no hard rule. You can send it back to verifier or you can send it back to requester or anybody else. Now, if you ask me whether this name will be same, of course not. This is just some examples I'm showing you. It all depends on company to company. Someone says requester, verifier, approver, final approver. Someone says requester, finance, procurement, the SSCs, the custodian, level 1, level 2, like that. Okay, so it all depends on your process, how you name it. So that way it will go. So the moment approver approve, it will go to the final approver. And again, it doesn't matter. Some company may have 4 levels, some company may have 2 levels, some company may have 10 levels. Again, it all depends on company to company process flow. So then final approver. So when the final approver approve, similarly, it can approve or reject anything. So if the final approver approve, then what happens? Then your data will get activated. So your data will get activated and then it will go to the respective database table. Okay, not before that. That means you can see that it's not a very straightforward process where you just enter the data, just save it and your data will save. No, it will go through a certain levels which will be verified and then it will be activated. So the process will be more transparent, the process will be more robust, I can say, because there will be a multiple levels who will validate your data, because you never know, being a requester, whether your data is 100% correct. Okay, so that's what. Because in your data there will be some financial data, there will be some accounting data, there will be some plant related information, some sales org related information. So there will be lot many things which, being a requester, you may not have a complete idea. Okay. Now, who are the different approval levels? So basically it could be finance team, it could be procurement team, it could be production team, it could be planning team, it could be different type of teams. Okay, the local managers, etc. So this is how the entire process runs. So whenever we will come to the workflow chapter, what we will see, that we will design the entire flow. So let's say this is one flow for an example. So such kind of flow we will design, and then we will see in hands-on that how this flow works across the system, how the data gets activated and updated, right? So this is how you can see. So first of all, you maintain the data, being a requester, you validate the data, you approve the data, and then you replicate. So basically, the moment your data gets activated and go to the database table, so everything which is happening that is within MDG, and then once your data gets activated and go to the database table of MDG system, from there it will replicate to target system. Then only the replication to target will happen. Okay, then in target system, whether it's ECC or it's MDM or is for HANA or it's non-SAP system, doesn't matter. So it will go to those target system, right? Because ultimately your data has been created by that time. So this is how the process flow works. Okay. So any question regarding the process flow? I'm just talking about in a very top of the things, because anyhow in workflow chapter I will go and talk about every details, but at least having a brief understanding about the process. That is what uh, my ambition is at this level, because this is the introduction chapter. Okay. So any question? Okay. So now let's move on to the next one. So by this time you can understand it's more about fundamental understanding. So from here we will have the first interaction with the system. And what is that topic? This topic is out-of-box configuration for MDG material, customer, vendor, business partner, finance, uh, master data. So basically what is out-of-box configuration? In a simple term, if I say that before I start working with MDG, before I start creating data model, before I start creating UIs, workflow, there are certain basic things which we need to prepare. Okay, and those basic things, basically your basis will help in order to prepare that. Okay, so out of box configuration is something which will be done by completely your basis team. Now the question is then why we are spending time on this? Because your basis team may not have enough understanding about MDG out of box configuration. So being MDG consultant, you have to guide them or you have to align with them. Okay, so that's the whole idea, to have little understanding about out of box configuration. Now in the out of box configuration, the first thing which we have, that is activate business function. And in order to do that, we will use the transaction SFW5. Now listen to me carefully. This is this transaction. When you go to your production system or when you go to your even quality system, even the development system as well, basically your project system, being an MDG developer, you may not have this transaction. Why? Because this transaction is a very sensitive transaction, and this transaction supposed to be with basis, not anybody else. Okay, so this transaction will help to activate the business functions. Okay, so I need to log in. Coordinator, are you there? I will be required the credential. If you can share with me through WhatsApp, that will be fine. Wait a minute, I will check with coordinator. Okay, so this is the MDG system. So first of all, before I start with anything, so in this system, uh, if I go to SE11, which is above dictionary, if I go to SE38, which is creating the executable program, then if I go to SE80, which is nothing but the object navigator, okay. So that means what? That means those transactions are also available in this particular instance. So this system is nothing but ECC system without any doubt. Okay. And what is the total specification it has? If I say the specification it has, which is ECC 6.0 and enhancement package 7. Okay. And this is and MDG version. Now in this particular system, what additional things which we have? Some MDG related business functions, authorization object, some different type of web services, etc. So that is nothing but part of our out-of-box configuration. Now let's see. So as I was talking about, like activate the business function, and this is the transaction code for that, SFW5. So if I go to SFW5, in this particular system you will have this transaction, because this system, the motive of the system is to provide you all sort of understanding. So that's what, and it is an IDS server. So because of that reason, you will have all the transaction access, irrespective of basis access or security access, and along with your developer access. But in a project system, definitely you won't have. So here you can see some security information, that careful, only the business function. So basically there are list of business functions which needs to be carefully managed. So let me continue for that. So here I can see enterprise extension and enterprise business function. So let's continue with the enterprise business function, and you can see the list of business functions which is listed here. Okay. Now this list of business functions, remember, these are all not for MDG. They are also from the other module. What kind of other module? Like for CRM, for HCM, for information steward, for SRM as well. So these are all different module along with MDG. So these are all business functions which are listed here. So I will only focus on the business function which is required for MDG. How I will come to know? Now for that, we will be providing some document. Okay, and in that document it will be clearly mentioned what are those business functions you will have. Okay, so let me quickly open the document, and then I will just walk through with the system. Just a minute, let me share my screen. Okay, so now let me go to this These documents are already available in the in the SharePoint drive. So what is the purpose of this document? The purpose of the document is this document provided by SAP. So the idea of providing this document is at least uh, to support the developer in terms of out-of-box configuration along with some other configuration in MDG. So that's the whole point of having this particular document. Here we have. So this document is related to some material master. Okay, so configuration master data governance for material master. So what are the business functions? So these are all list of business functions which we need to activate. Now first of all we need to understand what is business function and what business function contains. So basically business function contains different type of objects like business objects, interfaces, it can be key interfaces, and the different type of methods, different type of events, and many other things. So basically business functions, it's so important that if you activate the business function, immediately your respective BO, immediately the respective the interfaces, methods, events related to that particular master data will be available. So that's the whole idea of having the business function. Now, those business functions, you can see some business function which has been mentioned as the MDG foundation. Foundations are nothing but the basic business function, okay, which is like common for all. It is common for material, customer, supplier, etc. So if I go to system and basically what you need to do, as I was actually mentioning, that you need to closely work with your basis. Your basis may not have this particular list. So you will be providing this list to your basis. Okay. So now here if I go to, let's go down and we will have the business function. Here, this one, foundation. So MDG foundation, foundation 2, 3, 4 and 5. Why till 5? So this system is nothing but MDG on ECC, which is the version which is MDG 7.0. Now similarly, we have one more instance which is MDG S4 HANA. So if I log in this S4 HANA instance, so similarly, if I call on this system, so this system is your S4 MDG. So we maintain both of the system. One is for S4 MDG, one is for MDG ECC. So you can see what are the differences you have between S4 and ECC. That's the idea. But the basic details are same, like a data model, UI, process, it remains same. Just few things like mass processing, consolidation. So these are all things different in S4. Okay, so in this, here you can see in S4 HANA instance, along with this too, also you have some component for S4 HANA. Okay, anyway, so we just need to continue with this. And you can see these are all HCM related business functions. Okay, so here So foundation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. So here, if I see, we have till in this document is little old. So that's what it has 8. So basically, very frequently SAP update those business functions. So this document, I think last year I have downloaded this. Okay. So this is up to 9.1, and if I see 10 is basically 9. If I see, this is the version 9.2, and 10 business function 10 does not mean you have 9.3 or 9.4. No, it clearly says this is for your S4 HANA 1909. So this is S4 HANA version for 1909. Okay, but actually MDG version is 9.2. This is the latest version. Okay. So you can see that already activated. So now what happens when you purchase the license? That time SAP will provide those business functions activated. But anyway, if it is not activated, just what your basis will do, just select it and activate the changes. So that will activate the business function. Okay, you can see here all the business functions activated here. Okay, and this is the foundation is nothing but the common business function across all the master data. Right. Then coming to the categorically material master related business functions. So then material master related business functions, we have material 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, till 9. So if I see material 8, that is still MDG 9.2, and for 9 it's 1909. Okay, so S4 HANA version 1909. So this is for material. Similarly, if I see for finance 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is for also 1909. Then for supplier 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 9 this one. Okay. Same way for customer as well. Customer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So till 7 it's 9.2, 8 it's a 1909. Okay, so this is how. Now the question is whether I need to activate, because here you can see all the business functions activated. So what is the best practice? Whether the moment we have the system we will active all the business functions altogether? No, that's not the case. Here it is activated because it's a training system. We need to show all the master data to the audiences. But in your project, definitely it should not be like that. In your project, you need to focus on the master data which you are presently working. So if your project says they will start with customer master data, then only you need to activate the customer master data related business function. If your project says it will start from supplier or material, so that particular for business function you need to activate. Not necessary that all the business functions you will activate altogether. No, that's not the right way to do the things. Okay. Now one more question here. So ideally, which master data company or project will do first? Again, this is not any standard format. It is all depends on what your customer is actually looking for based on their business circumstances. So if they are thinking that the material one should go first, then material. If they are thinking vendor one should go first, then vendor one. So there is no specific sequence or there is no specific standard format to follow this. Okay. So this is the one. And again, this is the activity which will be done by the basis team. And we as a MDG developer, we have to be aligned with basis team that ensure that all the necessary business function gets activated. Secondly, the activation of Web Intro services. So what is the use of this Web Intro services? So basically, as I mentioned, that in MDG we will be dealing with the MDG change request for any kind of process. Whether we are creating something, we are changing something, we are blocking something, we are deleting something, we will be dealing with the MDG change request. And what is this change request? This change request is nothing but a kind of a GUI, a graphical user interface. Okay, so that GUI is basically backend. You have the WebDintro services, WebDintro component, right? So in order to activate those components, we need to activate some WebDintro services. Okay, so that's what we need to activate some list of WebDintro services for the different master data. Now we have this list. If I quickly copy this and paste it over here, and we can see the list of WebDintro services for the different master data. Now what is the transaction? Transaction is SICM. This is the transaction. So again, this activity, who will be doing this? Basis will perform this activity. But again, the details we need to provide. Okay, SICM. This is a very commonly used transaction by Basis. So Basis will be aware about those transactions. So these transactions are not alien for them. So those are very common transactions for them, but the objects will be unknown to them. So we have to make it aware that what are those objects we need to follow. So if I see, now you can see this list is having customer, MDG-C means C stands for customer, MDG-S stands for suppliers, MDG-BP, BP stands for business partner. Similarly, MDG-M stands for material, MDG-F stands for finance, MDG-CO stands for custom object. Okay. So now this is the list of services. So if I talk about, this is APB Launchpad. So if I just call this service, okay, and you just execute, and you can see this is the service which is present here. So if any service is not present, immediately your basis will make it available. Okay, so those service, now coming to categorically, what is the use of this service? This service is basically bringing the launchpad. For what is launchpad? Launchpad is nothing but, let's say, for an example, if I quickly show you, NWBC. NWBC is nothing but okay. So this is the Launchpad NetWeaver business client, and this Launchpad is having multiple roles, and through different roles, what you can do, you can go inside to the different master data. So you can see material master data, business partner, customer, finance, different master data, and then you have a different process. Like you can create material, you can change material, you can do mark for deletion for material, you can do mask change, file upload, file download, different type of activities. So basically this is the launchpad for NWBC. Similarly, down the line when we will discuss about Fiori, you can see the Fiori Land launchpad. Okay, so that means launchpad is nothing but the area where we can execute those different processes. Okay, so that means if I don't have these services, if I don't have this particular service, I will not get this launchpad. Okay, so that's what it is very important. And you can see it is important for all of them across the master data. But there are some service which is required for only categorically for specific master data. Like for an example, BS, OBP, BP. This is nothing but the webbed intro component for business partners. Okay, so by name itself, it clearly indicates that this is for business partner, and business partner contained customer and supplier. So that means it is applicable for only this category, which is coming customer, supplier and business partner. It is not required for MM, for FICO or for custom object, right? So this way you can see we have a different type of services which will be required. So like for these are all different UIs. So whatever the graphical user interface we will be using in the user interface chapter, without this webbed into services, that is not possible, right? So that's what we are saying, that we cannot directly go to the data model or UI model. Before that, make sure that those services, those business functions has to be there. Okay. Similarly, like the business functions for material, the moment you activate the business function, then only the MM data model will be available. Similarly, the moment you activate the customer or supplier business function, the BP data model will be available. Similarly, when you activate the finance related business function, the finance related data model will be available. So this way, everything is interlinked. Okay, so this is the list of webbed into services. Okay, I'm not going each and every detail. Just you need to give this list, and your basis will ensure whether this list is available in your MDG system. Okay. Then next is activation of authorization object of master data. So far, by using business function activation and using webbed into services activation, you just ensure a couple of things. One is make sure you have business partners, you have data model, you have UI model, and you have different type of methods, events, interfaces related to that particular master data. But still, you will have the lack of authorization to access any kind of a master data. So that's what you will be required different type of authorizations. And how you will access that? By using the transaction SU21, this particular transaction. And who will maintain this? SAP Security or GRCT. Okay. So what you need to do, again you have some list that you need to follow. So here, if I quickly see that, okay, so these are all different authorizations, which is basically some common authorizations across all the master data. These are all like, for an example, master data transport, key mapping, change request, master data, hierarchy, UI configuration. These are all very common kind of authorization. And those authorizations, where you need to enter? You need to enter into this particular row. So basically what your GRC team will do, they will go to this role, SAP MDG admin. So they will go to PFCG. So this transaction also I have written here, PFCG. So they will first go to this PFCG role and SAP MDG admin, which is the SAP MDG administrator role. Continue. And in this role, so let's say, let me go to the edit option, authorization. In the authorization, change authorization data, and just select this and check whether this authorization data is available. Let's say MDG, MDFTR, MDG, MDFTR. Find the object and you can see this data is available. Okay. Similarly, you need to, and this data is related to master data transport. You can import it, you can execute it, you can delete it. So these are all activities are allowed. Similarly, you can check with the other one, which is MDG IDM for key mapping, or let's say MD USMD underscore CREQ, C request. So here USMD underscore CREQ, and you can see that that is also available. And this is for type of change request. So we have basically different type of change request, and those requests right now I can see only the type which is deletion is available, but also you can include, add, change, displays. Okay, make display as well. Delete is also there. So here enter and generate this. Generate is nothing but kind of an activate. Okay, so now you have in the type of change request, you have these are all activities available. Okay, so this is the way your GRC team will add the authorization objects. Okay, this is the authorization object. Next is now one more thing, that is again, if I don't have this authorization object, what is going to happen? The simple answer is, let's say for an example, change request. So if I don't have this authorization object, the simple answer is I will not have the change request. I will not able to access the change request in MDG. Similarly, if I don't have this hierarchy authorization, then I will not able to deal with the hierarchy master data. Okay. So now coming to the next one, activation of business configuration set. So what is this activation of business configuration set? So basically, what happened that there are different type of business configurations, and every business configuration set deal with a different type of data. What kind of different type of data? Like type of change request, like workflow step number, like change request, type of change request, workflow step number, the description of the change request with the different languages, okay, and many more other activities. So this is the transaction code SCPR20. So if I go to SCPR20 and then BC set details. Now the question is, how I will get this business configuration set details? This data I have shown you from this document. This records I have shown you from this link. How I will get this record? Again, you need to follow the document. So that's what this document we call is like a Bible. Okay. So these are our configuration Bibles. So if I see business configuration, let's quickly see the content. Business configuration. So MDG math. Okay. So MDG and star. So these are all different BC set IDs. for material. So you can understand. So there are many details. So see, the first one, if I see the description, this is for the CR type entities for MDG 7.0 multiprocessing activity. Similarly, if I go to this one, MDG material CRO data. This is for MDG material change request type for SAP Fiori material 7.0. Similarly, this is for classification S4 HANA. Then down the line, if I see, so there are different type of activities. This is for change request activities for different versions. Okay, so change request details. So if I just click on one of this and continue to see this, what I can see here. So here, see. So these are all different change request type. Okay, 01 is for create, 02 is for change, 0A is for this is for multiprocessing, 0B is for import master data, material master data. So these are all different CR type respect to the entity types. Okay, definitely you will not be aware at this moment what is entity type, what is CR type in detail. Down the line, when we will go to the data model and process model chapter, we will have more details on that. But at this moment, from the very high level, just remember that it contains the different information like change request details, workflow details, UI related details, different process related details, etc. Okay. So that's what. Again, basis will ensure that you have all the business configuration set, and frankly speaking, the moment you will purchase the license, you will have all the business functions, business configuration set available for your MDG system. Okay, and then categorically, so this 4 is for all kind of master data we need to follow. Okay, the categorically the 5th one is for material master. You need not to follow for the others. And what is that? That is adjust profile parameter. And why this particular item is required? Because comparatively for respect to supplier, customer, finance and material, if you see, material master volume of records are always very high compared to others. So that's the reason we need to follow this particular step, that is adjust profile parameter. Because what happens when you have a good volume of data, you need to make your system in that way that make sure that when you are doing some mass processing with a huge amount of data, or when you are doing some consolidation processing with another huge volume of data, there will be a chance to crash the system. Okay, because system will not able to take that volume of data to process at the same time, because ultimately you will be doing on the change request, which is nothing but a GUI, right? It's a UI. So UI will not deal with all huge volume of record at the same time. So that's what it will be required to maintain this adjust profile parameter. And again, basis will help to do that. And what is that? The T code is RZ11. In fact, if you go to this document, you will have this detail. To the contained. So here. Wait a minute. Here we have adjust profile parameter, and the transaction is RZ11. So what happened? So this is one parameter above slash shared object size. So if you go to RZ11, this is the one. So here you can see above shared object size, and if you read this, it says that to check the setting, run the transaction RZ11 and verify that the value of parameter this one is between 200 to 300 megabytes. So this is the requirement. So if I see the default parameter value, and this is the current value is 361, which is obviously the range which has been mentioned here by SAP. It's more than that. Okay. So if it is within that range or above, then definitely you can deal with a good volume of record uh, for material in order to mass processing, consolidation, etc. So that's the reason we need to follow this. And again, I need to underline this point. This is only for the material master, not for the other master data. Okay. So this is nothing but the out-of-box configuration. So these 4 to 5 items which we need to perform before we jump to the data model or process model or any kind of activity. Okay. So any questions so far related to out-of-box configuration?
Aditya, Sachin here. I have a question on the business function. So on S4HANA, like you don't have vendor master or customer master, you have the business partner, right? So is there a specific business function we need to activate just for business partner?
Sorry, can you please come again your question?
Yeah.
Sorry if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. So on the S4HANA, we have business partners that represent the customer or vendor, right? So are there any business functions specific to activating the business partner, or it is just the ones which you showed for customer and vendor?
The list which I have shown, that is I think more than sufficient, but if there is something beyond of it, because what happens, I have to be honest to you, because these are all basis related functions. I may not have the updated list, but if there is any update, definitely your basis will accordingly provide that, or the best way to go with, I would like to say, the moment, let's say you kick off your material project or your customer project or your supplier project, you just create one OSS incident for SAP, and you say that before that you prepare all the list. You say that this is the list which I have. Try to download the latest version. I have little older one, so you can probably download the latest version for whatever the document having, and try to get the details related to the business function, web info services, etc., etc., and just show it to SAP like, look, I have this information, and whether apart from this I need to do something more. If there is anything required, they will immediately guide you. Okay, because you have to understand these are all in a basically they have given in the open platform those informations, but definitely there will be some information for a certain particular activity. It may be required some additional business functions or additional authorizations to be done. Okay, so in that case, it is always better to cross-check with SAP, and you can obviously ask your basis to follow up with that. But at least whatever the details I have provided, That covers your 80 to 85% of your objects related to the out-of-box configuration. But if something is required additionally, 10 to 15% probably, because every day it's updating. So it's not possible for us because it's a one-time activity, honestly speaking. And being a MDG developer, even we need not to directly involve with that. Yes, we will be communicate with our basis team, but basically basis team will follow up with that with SAP if something goes wrong. So I may not have 100% updated details, but I can say this is 80-85% data.
Sounds good. So Aditya, one follow-up question. For the BC sets, is there anything specific we need to be doing, or by default, whatever BC sets are there, that will be sufficient, or we need to activate or something?
By default, all the necessary details will be appeared. Now, just few minutes back, what you see for the Fiori. The moment, let's say, by default, your system will be capable with the floor plan manager. But the moment your project will decide that I will go with Fiori. So what your basis will do, they will activate the Fiori related business functions, Fiori related WebDyn Pro services, Fiori related authorizations, etc. And the moment they will activate, they will also activate accordingly the BC's the configuration set related details. And those details already they have. So this is something like Fiori. Fiori is nothing which is only required for MDG. In fact, Fiori used for CRM. Fiori used for HCM. These are all different modules. So they will have those details already. So to answer your question categorically, yes, we will be required all the default business configuration which are there, because they all will be required for at some point of time in your process. Okay.
Hi Aditya.
Yes,
Hello?
please tell me.
Yeah. Hi, I had a question around the role of a developer. For say example, if you say developer, then technical things are expected in a developer role. So does the out-of-box configuration also, include in that?
No, MDG role is something which will be managed by your GRC team. But we as a MDG developer also should know about MDG roles. So we have some workflow roles, we have some roles for different master data. So that we will be covered in our MDG workflow chapter. But here what I just mentioned, that how respect to the different roles you can add the authorizations. That is my objective here. But yes, you as a MDG developer need not to set the role or define the role. Even you don't have the access, you won't have the access. But we should also know how the MDG role should be. This is good to know knowledge, right? Yes, yes, of course. In fact, it is required, because anyhow your GRC team will asking you, like for an example, you have a requester, you have a procurement, you have a finance, etc. Different levels. Now your security team will ask you, please tell me which role I need to assign to whom. So if you don't know how this role operate, or how the role having those different object assigned, or how the different users are linked with the different role, for you it will be difficult to say that which role will go for requester or finance or procurement, etc. So it is definitely required to know, and that we will be covered in our workflow chapter. So if I quickly show you, so here in the workflow modeling, we have a developed different type of role concept in MDG. So here we will cover that role idea.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay. Now to follow up this. Okay. So here are some questions. And these questions are, according to me, quite interesting to know. Because when you engage with your customer for the first time, nowadays what happens that customers are quite smart. Even they also will have one consultant who will have a good knowledge on MDG. But if I talk about, still there are some project, or at least when we started our career with MDG, that time such kind of scenario was not there. So like customer was depending on us completely, and they will came up with the various ideas, and we just need to validate them, and we just need to tell them whether in MDG it is possible, not possible, etc. But now the situation has been changed. So you have to be very careful, because they will also have the MDG consultant, or at least someone who will have some understanding about MDG top of the level. Okay, may not be necessary detailed level like uh, coding, like the person will be enough to do all sort of ABAP codings and logics and etc. But at least from the high level point of view, functional understanding point of view, uh, such kind of consultant you can expect. So it is very difficult nowadays to deal with the customer, because they will come up some will raise some idea, and though there are a lot of complications involved, there are a lot of factors involved, but they will be expecting from you to deliver them. Okay, so we have to be very careful, and we have to deal the situation smartly. So that's what, these are all a few questions which will initial level, which will help you to understand how your customer will treat you at the initial level at least. So basically, the first question which they can ask you, that how can I establish a maintain once and use everywhere best practice? Basically, like if they are implementing material master or customer master or supplier master or finance master, definitely they will be looking for some kind of a framework which will be a kind of a one-time implementation end to end, and then multiple enhancement possible. So definitely MDG is providing that kind of framework to us, so that is possible. So you just need to explain them that yes, it is very much possible, because we have a data model for MM, for BP, for finance, and that data model will have all the fields including your standard. You can add your custom field, and then based on time to time you can add up your required fields, and then you can deploy them to the UI and continue to the process flow, etc. Secondly, how can I reduce cost by eliminating redundant effort to maintain master data through avoiding duplicates? Because any master data you see, that you will find that there are a lot of duplicate records. So how to deal with those duplicate records? So definitely the simple answer is obviously we can have the duplicate record, but by using the MDG search and duplicate check scenario, we can reduce the number of duplicate records based on the various combinations, various logic. Okay. Third one is, how can I increase the quality of my material master, like classification, plant data, sales data, MRP related information, etc. So that is definitely possible, and you can give a kind of a picture, like let's say one material. For an example, you can give such kind of detail, like you have a material master data. In the material master data, the first thing which you have, that is the basic info. In the basic info, you have basically the material type, industry sector, your hierarchy details, your descriptions, etc., etc. Then you will have some sales details. So the sales or data, like different region related information, whether it is related to Europe or Latam or North America, and specific to country wise if you want, you can divide that. Then you have the plant details. Okay, so you have different type of plant like plant 1010, 1000, 2000, 1040, 1050, different type of plant you may have based on a different sales org. Then followed by even plant will have some details like MRP data. Okay, so MRP data also will have a different segmentations. So these are all different type of informations you can float. Only this is just a material master. Similarly for the other cases as well. Okay. Then how can I get consistent insight into sales, manufacturing, and procurement volumes? So basically, as I mentioned, that in your process flow, you can maintain different type of levels. You can maintain requester, then data manager, then procurement, then planning, then production, then sales, then finance, then logistics. So different levels you can define, and every level you have a different set of people, and based on your data, the change request will touch those different levels. So that is the. Then how can I accelerate availability of up-to-date master data in my business network? That means I want to update my data. Obviously, you can do update your data. If you have a single record, you can go for single update, like change scenario. But if you have a multiple record, you can go with the mass processing approach. So by using the mass processing, you can change multiple records. And mass processing not only possible in the basic details, also you can change characteristics, classification. These are all different peripheral record as well. Then how can I get the transparency on who has changed what, when, why? Like because of that reason, we have different frameworks. So like you enter the change request, and that change request will now travel to the different level. And in the different level, you can see who has approved, who has rejected, or if I want someone to give some access to edit the data. So that also you can see that who has been edited, what kind of data. And while accomplishing all that, how can I best leverage my investment in SAP? So ultimately such kind of details, like these are all very very high level questions. So not in a very specific field level or specific logic level, but this kind of questions you can expect from your customer when they will come up with some idea, and based on that you can slowly work on those ideas. Okay. This is the deployment options which we discussed last week, which is hub-based model and co-deployment. Then framework, business framework, we have basically today the one which we talked about here. So basically requester, verifier, approver, finance, these are all, and requester submit, and then it goes that way. This approach we call it as a single workflow. We call it as a single workflow. Okay. The single workflow means the change request has to go through this process. It cannot jump. Yes. If I want to make it jump, is it possible? Yes, obviously. We can make some conditions, and based on the conditions, based on a particular data, it will skip a particular step. That is a different story. Programmatically, we can do lot many things. Okay, but just I'm talking about the standard process. Standard process wise, it's like it is touching all the points one by one, all the levels. Sorry, all the levels one by one, like requester, verifier, approver, final approver, custodian, whatever. Okay, so this process we call it as a single processing. Parallel processing is someone like I have a requester and let's say verifier 1 and I have verifier 2. Verifier 2. Similarly, I have approver 1 and approver 2. And then finally I have final approver, and that complete the activation. And then the data will go to the respective database table. So what happens? Just think a simple scenario like I want to purchase one product from a different type of online platform. So when I provided my details with my financial details, my card details, etc. So the first thing, let's say, the detail will go to two different teams. I'm just giving one example to make you understand this parallel processing concept. So team 1 is, let's say, they deal with the address data, but the team 2 dealing with the transactional data. Okay, so team 1 and team 2. Next is verifier 1 and verifier 2. Once verifier 1 approve, it will go to the approver 1. Okay. Similarly, approver 1 will continue with the further verification, and approver 2 will continue with the further verification of the transactional data. And if they both approve, then it will continue with the final approval. But let's say if one is not approved, then what is the best scenario? The best scenario says the data will go back to the requesters. Why? Because let's say, for an example, my address is correct, but somehow my transactional data is not correct, or they have not received the payment. Will they deliver the product to me? Definitely not. So it will go back to me for the further verification, right? So that is the simple common sense says that this is how the workflow should work. Obviously, again, you can say, okay, instead of approver 2 is rejecting, I will first send it to verifier 2. Yes, that is possible. Okay. Then verifier 2 will send it to the requester again after one more level of verification. Okay. But ultimately, the best practice says it will go back to the requester. Okay, for the further verification. But if everything goes well, then it will continue with the final approval and then activation, and then the data will go to the database table. So that is how it will work. Okay, so this kind of process, we call it as a parallel processing. What happens that at some point of time, your process is executing parallelly. Okay, but in the previous case, it is not like that. It is executing sequentially, but here it is executing parallelly. Okay, so that is the difference between the single processing and the parallel processing. Okay, and then continue with the out-of-box configuration as we just discussed. So activate business function, activation of webbed into services, activation of authorization object, activation of BC set, and then the adjust profile parameter categorically for the material master. And then, so this is the whole discussion about this MDG introduction. As I previously mentioned, that this is more or less very fundamental understanding, and you can't expect much system interaction here. So basically our system interaction will start from the next chapter, which is nothing but the data modeling. So Any question regarding this introduction chapter from the topic which we covered?
Just a quick question. So you describe the business functions and how to activate them and all that, and you describe the change request. But if I want to see the technical components of change request, where do I see it? Is it just the web services that is running and then class and things behind? If there is a request to debug the change request and see where things are happening or not happening, how do I do that?
Okay. So let's say if your process is, so basically if I define your question, all you are trying to say that in my framework, if I stuck somewhere, how I will identify my details, right? Is that your question?
Yeah, pretty much. Thanks.
Pretty much. Okay. Yeah. So basically, you answered quite right. So let's say, for an example, that we can take this example, the example which we have. Let's say, so requester submit the change request, but the change request does not reach to the verifier level. So something goes wrong. It might be with some data. It might be with some process. Okay. So in that case, how I will identify? So we need to first identify this activity. First of all, there are certain stages. First thing is we need to first, if we see that the change request reach verify level, but it reach with some error. Okay. In that case, we need to go through the transaction SLG1. I will cover that. What is this transaction? Where exactly this transaction can be seen? What are the details can be seen in this transaction? Everything. So SLG1. What is this SLG1? This SLG1 transaction will give you the complete understanding about the change request. What is going on with the change request? Is it something related to the data? Is it something related with the process? Everything. It will give you a kind of an overall picture. Most of the cases, I can say 80% understanding you will get it from here. Now, rest of the details, what we need to do, we have different way to debug. One is the feeder class level debug. So every change request will have backend feeder class. So we can debug at the feeder class level. We can set the breakpoint and we can try to recreate this scenario, and we can see in the feeder class level what kind of problem we are identifying. That is one thing. Another one is we can do this access class level. We have a different type of access class, different type of access class execution. We can also identify that what is the problem with the data or with the processes. And then we have different type of API classes. Okay. So API classes also we can go through it. So these are all different approaches, and we will see that which case we will use first, and then we need to identify what is the problem with the change request. So this is one sort of a answer. Another thing is, if it is not related to the change request, if your change request is activated successfully but your data is not replicated to the target system, in that case you need to debug the respective outbound function module or the respective inbound function module or the respective the classes which we have. So this is how we identify the data, or we identify the root cause of the whole things. Okay. So that's the very high level answer. But down the line, when we will see the things very closely, probably I can give you much detailed picture.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Aditya, just one quick question on the workflow. Does
Yeah. Yeah.
SAP provide like any default workflow template for the single and parallel workflow, or it has to be developed from
Of
scratch?
course. No, no, no. We will definitely develop from scratch. But the thing is, there will be always workflow template provided by SAP. So if I quickly show you, so this is the transaction which next class onwards we are going to see very frequently. So this is the MDG IMG, which is MDG related transaction. So if I show you, so these are all different change request type. We can see these are all different workflow templates. So the idea is SAP will provide us the standard template, but the standard template will have lot many different steps which may not be necessary for us. So we will be define our steps, we will be define our conditions according to our requirement, but definitely there will be the standard workflow template which provided by SAP. So definitely it will be there, and we will be revisit again and again for the different processes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Any other question? Yeah, please tell me.
Aditya, I had a question regarding reporting. You know, if the users ask for a report, you know, whether we can get this report, like how many materials we have created, or maybe that if they can get an SAP, but at least the SLA around the creation of masters and all, it means that kind of a thing. Is it possible over here?
Yes, yes, definitely. So as you can see that we have the last chapter, which is enrichment topic. In this enrichment topic, we have a different case study. In this case study, one of the very important case study is the SLA identification. So definitely it is a demand from almost all the projects nowadays that whatever the change request we have, our user is processing weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, monthly basis, we have to track them. Whether those change requests are based on the priority wise, they have completed on time or they violate the SLA. So based on that, the business needs to receive the report. Okay, whether in terms of pie chart or whether in terms of different graphics design, they need it. So definitely that is a very common requirement nowadays, and we will have a specific example with, I will provide you some raw code as well, which I designed earlier. That will basically help you to get the report. Okay, and
okay, so it is inbuilt in
then
MDG, right?
Inbuilt in MDG. So basically we will create some custom report, and based on the custom report we can prepare some different graphics presentations. Okay, or we can send it to, I will tell you two approaches. One is how to define the custom program, or what are those parameters you need to keep in mind in order to create the custom program for SLA identification. That is one. Second is prepare your report, because your report may have some ALV table data. With that table data, either you can send this data to the BW system, and BW will create some report, okay, based on that data. Other way around is by using the Fiori, you can also define some pie chart, some graphic design, okay, with the same sort of data. So both of the things I will touch upon.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yeah. Okay, any other question?
In SAP retail or in fashion, there are article masters instead of material masters, or in AFS environment. So do you have any exposure working with retail where article masters are used instead of material?
No, 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 no. I don't have knowledge about that.
Okay.
I don't have knowledge about retail management or. Yes, I will talk about enterprise asset management that I have little understanding, but retail fashion management, no,
Okay.
it's not. I don't have much. Any other question? Okay, fine. So now continue. Now look at this. So similarly, like this document, this is for material. You will have the document for supplier. You will also have the document for finance, customer. Okay, so those documents are already in place in the shared drive. So in the introduction chapter, I think chapter wise, we have the shared drive folder. So just go to the introduction chapter and then uh, try to look for this document. You will have those documents, and there again I'm repeating those documents. This document I download last year. Okay, I will try to, you can see the date 2018 November, not last year. It's quite old, I can say. So I will try to look if there is any updated document. Okay. So accordingly, I will definitely update those documents in the drive. Okay. But which we have.
So when you say shared drive, you're talking about the drive that is shared by the coordinator.
Right. I'm talking about that drive only.
Okay.
So in that particular drive, you will have those documents. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. And if you want, I can also update this Excel sheet to coordinator, so coordinator can update that. So chapter wise, anyhow, whatever the details we have, you can just have a quick look about this Excel, and that will help in terms of revise the things, right?
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
I will share that. Yeah. Okay, so today I'm not going to start any new topic. Otherwise, we will not able to continue the rhythm. So next week we will start with this data modeling, and in this data modeling we will first start with the custom data modeling, and then I will come to the standard data modeling and then enhancement. So this is how we will follow. Okay, and by next week I would request that if all of you will have the system access, then it's good, because from next week onwards we will have the hands-on started. So after the session, whatever the off time you will have, you can practice on that. You can follow up with the example which I will prepare in the session. So if you have the system access, that will really help you. Okay. Okay, so I'm just closing the session then here today. I will
Aditya,
not continue with new chapter. Yeah.
sorry, Aditya, just a quick question. You mentioned about enterprise asset management, right? So will you be showing
Hmm.
something around management of functional locations and those kind of things? So
Definitely, we have a specific agenda for that. So we have explain MDG EAM model and its advantage for business. So I will talk about a very detailed understanding about EAM. with all the different like equipment master and the other functional areas which we have. Okay, so definitely I will cover that. Yeah.